And all it took was her to squeeze my hand before she would leave and say, I know these people are lying. I can tell that there's something going on here. And that squeeze meant I'll be back. I'll be back for you. And she always came through. She always came back. And after finding my birth mother, she was the very first person I went looking for.
Oh, wow, Lauren, you always be back. That's the motto. And it takes one person to make that change in somebody's life and give them hope. And what a blessing to share this story with us today. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. You are such a loving soul, and I'm looking forward to having you, of course, back on the show if you're willing. And
Sure.
I'm also looking forward to spending some quality time with you, whether up in Chicago or down here in Atlanta. So plan on it, okay?
I love Atlanta. Any excuse to come back.
All right, you got it. All right, guys, you listen to Lauren Michaels Harris, his incredible story and making a difference in the world every day. Check him out at laurenmichaelsharris.com and the Power of We. Don't forget it. Check his site out. All right, guys, hope you enjoy the show. We'll see you later. Take care.
You have been listening to The Good Intention Show on the UI Radio Network. The Good Intention Show is sponsored by the United Intentions Foundation at unitedintentions.org. Look for us on Blog Talk, Spreaker, iTunes, Stitcher, Player FM, and many more. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram under United Intentions, and on Twitter at Higher Intention. Be sure to log on to unitedintentions.org, a virtual community where you learn to create, track, and manifest your passions, one intention at a time. Have a wonderful day, and until next time, live life with intent. The United Intentions Foundation and its associates take no responsibility for the opinions and statements made by the talk show hosts or their guests.
1470 AM and 95.3 FM, the Health and Wealth Radio Network. Listen for Invite Health with Jerry Hickey and Amanda Williams. Weekday mornings at 9. WNN. Talk 1470 is WWNN Pompano Beach and 95.3 FM W237BD Boca Raton, the Health and Wealth Radio Network.
Gallbladder problems, gingivitis, a bad back, indigestion, fatigue, low libido, not sleeping well, need to lose weight. Just some of the topics you'll hear about. Hi, I'm Dr. Bob Martin. Join me Sunday mornings at 10 on Talk 1470 WNN.
It takes a whole lot more effort to get something started in your life than it does to keep it moving.
Del Walmsley has moved thousands of radio listeners closer to a great life. The Del Walmsley Show is now on in South Florida on Talk 1470, Monday at 5, Tuesday through Friday at noon. Listen and move towards your great life today.
Hunger could be living next door to you. Hunger is found in every zip code, in every school, and every town. 1 in 8 Americans is food insecure. That's millions of children, working moms or dads, college kids, and retirees waking up each morning not knowing if they'll have enough food for that day. Together, we can help end hunger in our community. This station is part of the Beasley Best Community of Caring. Learn more about ways to help fight hunger in your neighborhood. Or, if you're food insecure, find resources at our website today.
What you want to know. What you need to know. Talk 1470 WNN.
The following message is brought to you by the Florida Restaurant and Lodging Association, the Florida Association of Broadcasters, and this radio station.
At the Florida Restaurant and Lodging Association, our mission is to protect, educate, and promote the hospitality industry. We have more than 10,000 members statewide that are ready to serve you. FRLA members are backed by Florida's premier industry association. So the next time you're dining out at your favorite restaurant or staying at a hotel for the weekend, ask them if they are FRLA members. Only the best ones are.
What you want to know. What you need to know. Talk 1470 WNN.
The opinions expressed in the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of the station, its staff, management, or sponsors. Welcome to the Golf and Travel Show, the place to fine-tune your swing, dress for the course, club, or cruise, and get tips on the best places to play and stay at the right price. Vacation or staycation, host Dan Shub, along with his expert co-hosts and guests, will tell you where to go. To play golf and vacation, that is. Now, here's Dan.
Welcome to the Golf and Travel Show. I'm your host, Dan Schub, and tonight, like we usually do, we're going to talk a bunch of golf. We're going to talk some travel. It's our special edition Black Friday show tonight. And as it's kind of been our tradition, in just a few moments, we're going to be chatting with our guest. He's the golf, travel, and techie guru. Perfect background for gift-giving ideas for your favorite golfer or traveler or techie. He's an author, he's a journalist, and he's my friend Rick Limpert. So he'll be on in just a little bit, and we can get you all going for those who perhaps went out and braved the malls and didn't quite complete their list yet and still have a few of those hard-to-please folks. Rick's always got some great ideas. Also, a little bit later in the show, I'm going to perhaps recap a little bit of my travels. And last week, I was out on the road, ended up in Orlando, Phoenix, Atlanta, and Fort Lauderdale, of course, where I flew out of. So, I covered a little bit of ground. But typically what we like to do before we talk travel, and of course I do have some Dan's deals for you later on in the show, so if anybody is looking for that perfect gift for this traveling golfer, send me away somewhere. That would be just fine. So that's perfect for a lot of people right there. But we like to talk a little bit of golf typically at the top of the show, and then we'll kind of work our way into gift giving and travel a little bit later on in the show. And I couldn't resist to speak briefly, at least a little bit, about the match, which is happening right now as we speak. And, of course, I'm talking about Tiger Woods versus Phil Mickelson. And it seems that the excitement for this event on pay-per-view was underwhelming. Obviously, Tiger was hot for a little while, perhaps played a little too much, got a little tired, and did not look very good at all in the Ryder Cup. Phil, he's had a few moments of brightness in the past year, but not many. And he, too, did not look very good in the Ryder Cup. And I think that really put a tarnish on this event. It was a hard sell, let's face it. Originally, the price was supposed to be about $25. They knocked it down to $19.95. For the pay-per-view. I'd have to believe not too many people were buying it. To make matters worse, it seems that there were some issues with the quality of the streaming today. I know it was streaming on Bleacher Report Live, and they had so many issues with it that they actually had to open it up for free. I guess people were having a hard time logging in or whatnot. I just tried to get it, and I wasn't connected to wireless at the moment, and it was kind of freezing up, so I don't know what the deal is. And then, of course, there's a question, what about all those folks that already paid their $19.95 just to find out that now it's free? Are they going to get a refund? All 5 of those people, perhaps. Maybe there weren't too many. It was funny, being an older guy as I am, for those of you who don't know, it just kind of reminded me of Woodstock back in, I guess it was around 1968 or 9 or so. And I remember watching, I was slightly too young to get there, although I wanted to. My mother would have killed me. But seeing in the movie, when they said it's a free concert now because the masses of people just kind of knocked down the gates and they couldn't keep people out any longer. And if you didn't have a ticket, you were in. If you paid for a ticket, well, too bad. You weren't going to get your money back. It kind of reminded me a little bit of that. But to get down to the details, I could tell you what's going on because I'm trying to keep up on it. And it seems that through 17 holes out there in Las Vegas, it is all square. From what I've heard, it has been uneventful, just a handful of birdies perhaps, both of them looking a bit lethargic as their age might indicate. It is the end of the year, not necessarily for the PGA Tour with the wraparound schedule now, but they're both due for a rest, I think. I know that Tiger is playing next week. I believe he has his own events that he's hosting, I believe in the Bahamas. Of course, they were mic'd up, and from what I understand, there was not a lot of talk. It seems that they were both focusing on the task at hand and trying to win. There was some side bets going on. We had heard about a side bet right up in the very beginning, and I believe Phil... I think it was a $100,000 bet that got doubled, and that there would be a birdie on the first hole, and Tiger, I guess, picked that up and picked up $200,000 immediately. So on the side betting, he took the early lead, but then I know Phil came back. He won a side bet for closest to the pin on 13. a $300,000 side bet. I know there was a longest drive side bet for $100,000 on 14, and to win it, though, you had to be in the fairway, and as typical of the two of these guys lately, neither were in the fairway, so that did not happen. And I guess it's $900,000, $9 million rather. What am I saying? $9 million, winner take all at stake, and still all tied up through 17. So we'll keep you up to date so that you don't have to worry about the lousy stream that seems to have been going on. But in any event, I guess it's kind of a little bit interesting. But years ago, there was an event that took place on Thanksgiving called the Skins Game. And I think we all kind of miss those days. It's been a long time since the Skins have been on TV, and some of the crowds back in those days were the largest crowds that they even had for any golf matches. So a little bit nutty, but in any event, I did want to recap a little bit about what went on last week. I typically don't, but it's the end of the year, and there were some significant things that were happening, and I just thought that I'd have a few shout-outs to some of the folks from last week. First of all, Charles Howell III won on the PGA Tour. It had been 11 years since his last victory, so he's always around. He's always making a few bucks here and there, but just doesn't seem to close the deal. Nice guy, I think liked by everybody. Also, a previous guest who was on the show with us just a couple of weeks ago, Lexi Thompson, we had a chance to talk to. And a year ago, she had an incredible year. This past year, not so much. And, we addressed that with her. I felt kind of bad, but I felt like I had to ask the questions. And I was pretty amazed at how positive her attitude was in spite of the fact of having an off year for her. And she pointed out that it's not that she hasn't been close. It's not that she's been playing bad. She just wasn't getting into the winner's circle. And she felt that she still had it in her. And sure enough, the last event, the season-ending championship event over in Naples, Lexi won. And she had been talking, when we were talking to her about it, that's what her, focus was on now, that she could kind of salvage the year. And sure enough, she did it. So congratulations to local South Florida own Lexi Thompson on winning the season-ending event on the LPGA Tour. Aria Jutanagarn won the Race to the CME Globe and $1 million prize. That's their season-ending tournament that they have. So congratulations to her as well. Other golf news. I don't typically talk too much about what's going on the European Tour, but again, there were some stories this past week. Francesco Molinari, who had an incredible year, he won the Race to Dubai, so that's their season's ending event over on the European Tour, just edging out Tommy Fleetwood. And, of course, these are guys that rose to the occasion in the Ryder Cup. So just an incredible year, just capping it off with this victory. Another name that we haven't really heard from much that seems to have waged a bit of a comeback, and I was kind of glad to hear that. 2.5 years ago, his last win was at the Masters, hasn't won since, and that would be Danny Willett. So he won over in Dubai, so congratulations to him. I guess with some people, when they win an event like that, it's such a life-altering thing. I mean, he wasn't a huge name here to begin with, wins the Masters, and then kind of disappears, or his game disappears, and I guess those kinds of things happen. So was sorry to hear about it, but glad to see that he's back in the winner's circle. As far as golf courses that I sometimes play, here's one that I haven't played, but I've certainly looked at quite a bit. And it was going away, and I kind of felt bad about it. And that was the golf course at the Wynn Hotel in Vegas. Anybody who listens to the show, you know that I go out to Vegas very often. And I didn't get to play the course because, unfortunately, these casino golf courses, they typically invite their high rollers, which I'm a low roller. And or you sometimes you can pay like $500 to play, and that's usually above my budget for golf. But I had many stays at the Wynn where my room looked out on this beautiful golf course. And I guess a year or two ago, they made the announcement that they are going to build another hotel on that property and a water park. And they closed down the golf course for the construction. Well, all of you may recall just a few months back or so, Steve Wynn, who was their chairman, their CEO, was forced to step down, part of that Me Too movement, and their new CEO was looking at the numbers kind of carefully and came to the conclusion that their business was down $10 to $15 million since they closed the golf course. So the good news is they've changed their plans. They're going to renovate the golf course and reopen it in 2019. Lucky for them, they have acreage on the Strip, on the other side of the Strip, across the street, and they're going to develop over there instead and let the golf course continue to be a golf course and come back new and refreshed. So if anybody from Wynn is listening, a nice invitation would be wonderful to get. All right, what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break for a message from our sponsors, and we will be back with perhaps a little bit of travel news. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more of the Golf and Travel Show.
I'm not smart enough. My resume's not up to date. They'll never pick someone like me. No one's hiring right now. Sound familiar? Don't let you get in the way of landing your next job opportunity. Sometimes it's best to leave it up to the experts. Did you know that the last reported job openings in the U.S. as of this recording was a series high of 6.7 million jobs, and that 1.1 million of those jobs were left unfilled? This means that there's a potential opportunity that's just right for you. And at Labor Finders, we're committed to helping you find it. Whether you're entering the workforce or looking for supplemental income in a job that starts right away, we've got you covered. With over 300,000 clients across the U.S. and 20,000 active daily workers, we have the network and the experience to get you your next job. Contact one of our nearly 200 offices today to see how we can help in your job search. Simply visit us online at www.laborfinders.com or connect with us on social media by searching the username Labor Finders.
And we are back. And I had mentioned at the top of the show, last week I was in the air, so I couldn't be on the air, so you were all treated to a previously run show. But the reason why I was in the air was because I had a lot of business and family things to take care of last week. I was working a trade show in Orlando and stayed in a cool place. I was the trade show, of course, was at the Orange County Convention Center, and stayed at a condo which I rented. I guess it was through an Airbnb posting. It's called Vista K. Stayed there many, many times. It's you could literally see the north and south side of the convention center right out the window. I was right at the edge of the property, maybe less than a mile to walk door to door. You save on all that parking. And my buddy John, who I often travel with and work these shows, he couldn't make it, so I ended up staying in this huge 3-bedroom condo for less than a hotel would have cost. So just a good thing to know sometimes, that it pays to not only check out hotels, but sometimes these condo rentals, timeshare rentals, whatever you want to call them, through things like Airbnb. Sometimes I use HomeAway, which is a competitor of Airbnb as well, and oftentimes you could get a really good deal. From Orlando, I then was flying to a family party, happy occasion actually, out in Phoenix. Stayed in the Biltmore area at the Embassy Suites Hotel, which was a nice property. Strange room, though, for a suite. I mean, obviously you stay at the Embassy Suites, you get a full-fledged suite, 2 separate rooms. So the 2 separate rooms were really nice, and each room, the bedroom and the living room, had a sink, which was pretty cool. The bathroom was wedged in between. It was about the size of a closet with this tiny little sink in there, too. So the one sink that probably would have worked best for me and my wife, and it probably would have been better if it was a double sink, wasn't really very functional. And then I had 2 extra sinks that I really didn't need. So it was kind of a weird setup. But what can I tell you? Unfortunately, though, right before I left to go to this fun event out in Phoenix, I got a phone call, and the event was from my cousins. that my cousins on the other side, one of my cousins passed away unexpectedly, so I had to fly for a funeral in Atlanta on Sunday. And first of all, obviously, any funeral is a horrible occasion, especially when it's a surprise. But I have to say, going to the happy event in Phoenix as well as the sad event in Atlanta and getting to see family that I don't typically get to see because they live in Atlanta and in Phoenix was the smartest decision I made because, as I said earlier, at my advanced age, a lot of these cousins are older than I am. And first of all, you certainly want to see them for happy occasions because if you don't see them for happy occasions, you end up only seeing them for sad occasions. But yet, folks that you've been related to and celebrated the good, the bad, and the ugly from year after year after year throughout your entire life, as you get a little bit older, you start to realize that it's really important to be there for the happy and the sad occasions. And unfortunately for me, the airlines, they really stick it to you when you got to do a last-minute change in plans. Luckily, we were flying Southwest from stop to stop to stop, and of course we were able to get a full refund on any previously bought tickets. But of course, then you've got to buy at the current price, and when you have but a day or two advance notice, you're going to pay a lot more. So I wasn't happy with that, but I still have to say that the decision I made was the right decision to see friends and family. So. I recommend that. In Atlanta, at the last minute, ended up staying at the Hampton Inn in the Sandy Springs, just north of Atlanta area. Hampton Inn, I have to say, they are awfully consistent. I don't stay there that often. I used to stay there more frequently. But the service is usually pretty good. The breakfast is pretty good. The room is what you would expect it to be. Everything is just what you expect it to be. And it's a good value. Do have to say that at Atlanta Airport, which is a busy, busy airport, especially when it's a holiday, ended up eating at P.F. Chang's there, and the service was really not very good. So I don't recommend P.F. Chang's in the Atlanta airport. I've been there before. It used to be mediocre at best, but my food was ice cold. I sent it back. I got a bad attitude. Don't go to P.F. Chang's in Atlanta airport. It's a mistake. All right. Did want to talk about some other basic holiday news, travel news, etc. Want to remind everybody in just a few minutes we're going to be talking with my good friend, journalist, author Rick Limpert. He's the guy who knows about all the best tech gift-giving ideas for golf, travel, and otherwise. So you don't want to miss that. But I did see a story about Thanksgiving that I thought I would share with everybody. It's about a restaurant that I've been to before in New York when I lived there. And I believe they also have an outpost at Caesars in Las Vegas that I've heard about, but I have not had the opportunity to go to. The restaurant I'm talking about is quite famous steakhouse called the Old Homestead. And last year they had what they called the most expensive Thanksgiving dinner ever in history. And this year, I guess it was last year, or the record was set last year by I think it was them, at $76,000 for a Thanksgiving dinner. Well, this year they put together a Thanksgiving dinner that retailed for $150,000. So any of you who think that you eat a lot at your Thanksgiving dinner, I don't know if you think you could eat $150,000 worth. Hopefully you wouldn't eat all of this because not all of it is actually edible. But the turkey actually was $135 a pound free-range organic turkey that was sprinkled with gold flakes. Edible gold flakes. So you actually get a golden turkey. I heard about the golden goose, but this is the golden turkey. But inside the stuffing, you will find keys to also a gold dusted, I guess, Maserati. So that's always nice. So I wouldn't want to eat that. But the stuffing had some imported Japanese pork that went for about $425 a pound, not to mention the white truffles that sell for $2,500 a pound, and the king oysters that sell for $100 each, and a little bit of Opus One mignonette. I'm assuming Opus One must be an expensive champagne. Even the potatoes had $325 a pound cheddar cheese mixed in, and the butternut squash had $1,600 an ounce black caviar, of course, from the Caspian Sea. The salad was topped with some Japanese prized Wagyu beef that goes for $550 a pound. The owner, Mark Sherry, he's one of the partners there. He's been there. I guess it's a family business because I remember 50 years ago it was still the Sherry family. But they say that this meal costs approximately $2,600 more than what the average Thanksgiving dinner would typically cost. For dessert, you had mixed berries with a Zabayon cream sauce that was infused with crystal champagne. And don't forget, of course, that Maserati. So the Old Homestead, great place to eat, known for their prime ribs, I believe, which might set you back 100 or so. But if you really want to do it up next year for your Thanksgiving dinner, you may want to go check out the Old Homestead in New York. Also, this crazy weekend for travel this weekend. I was, obviously traveling last weekend. And the busiest airport of all on the holiday weekend, I suppose. And first of all, they say that the busiest day to have left for Thanksgiving was on Wednesday. Of course, the busiest day to return is this Sunday, so beware. But the busiest airport for Thanksgiving in the U.S. is where I just was, which is Atlanta Airport. Outbound, they're looking at 1.2 million passengers, followed closely by Los Angeles, Chicago, Dallas, Denver, JFK in New York, San Francisco, Charlotte, Orlando, and Seattle rounds out the top 10. Vegas just missed it at 11. And, boy, am I glad. I happen to have been in Atlanta. I'm trying to think. It was last Sunday night, and it was pretty late at night, and it was relatively quiet. So I think I picked the quietest time. 8 a.m., I guess, on Wednesday was the busiest time. Also, in other airline news, this is a story that really struck a chord with me. It seems that LOT Polish Airlines, their plane needed a repair in Beijing, China, and it seems that they needed some cash to pay for it. They didn't have any credit. The employees of LOT didn't have enough cash. I guess they didn't have any credit cards that were any good in Beijing. And they needed to raise $350 to pay for the part. So they actually had to go to the passengers on the plane and kind of pass the hat and see if they can scrape the money together. Of course, they managed. There was a 10-hour delay to make the repair, but they got it fixed. And it seems, according to at least the airline, that by the time they were done with the flight, I guess they were on their way back to Poland. They managed to pay back all of the passengers the money that they had to borrow. And this kind of reminded me of a story many years ago when Spirit Airlines was a newer airline. They had different ownership and management, and I got invited with a bunch of other VIPs and some media people and clients and whatnot to play in their golf tournament for Spirit. It was 2 days in a row. One day was here in Fort Lauderdale, and then the next day was in Nassau in the Bahamas. So we played the round here in Fort Lauderdale, had a great round, and everybody drove to the airport here in Fort Lauderdale and got on this plane with a whole bunch of the executives from Spirit who were all excited that, we all had a great time playing here, and now we're going to go play over there in the Bahamas. And I'm sitting towards the front, and a guy comes up to the window of the plane and, kind of knocks on the window by the pilot, and there's a conversation going on. I come to find out they had no credit for fuel. They were out of fuel, and they had no credit. And they had to ask all the different executives for a credit card who had a credit card so that we could get the plane fueled up to leave. Needless to say, it was a little bit embarrassing for the folks at Spirit, although I have to say that they've done so many more embarrassing things since then that it's probably no big deal. So my recommendation, do not fly Spirit. Another story that I have that is local in nature, kind of one of my homes away from home, besides Las Vegas, second to Las Vegas, a place that you often may find me right after the show because I tend to visit there. I am talking about the Hard Rock Hotel right here in Hollywood, the Seminole Hard Rock Hotel, and it seems that they have just finished part of their new expansion. Any of you who are local, or maybe you've heard me talk, they've got this huge hotel that looks like a guitar being built there, but they just opened a new Hard Rock cafe there, and they're really excited about it. So, of course, they're having their signature guitar smash to celebrate the grand opening on Tuesday. And congratulations to the Seminoles. And lucky for me, it has not been built with all of my cash because I typically seem to do okay there. So thank you to the Seminoles, but they do a great job. All right, I think what we are going to do is we're going to take another quick break for a message from our sponsor, but you're going to want to stay tuned because right after the break, we're going to be back with my good